Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Dan and today I'm doing a really exciting video, and a video that I wanted to make for quite some time. This is the behind the scenes, I guess, video of the short film I made, Return, which came out last year during the 48-hour Durban film project, and I'm really excited to talk about it. Pretty much what I'm going to do in this video is just unpack the process of what led to this film and some of the behind the scenes stuff and some of the influences I had with regards to making the film. So I'd say this short film is pretty simple and basic, but I still don't necessarily want to explain the meaning behind the film. I do kind of want people to have their own interpretations of the movie. I love how films are just left for the audiences to interpret and sort of add their own meaning and value to them. So although this short film is quite simple with regards to story and everything else, I still don't necessarily want to explain what the film meant from my perspective. I do want people to sort of have their own opinions and thoughts regarding the movie. Cool. Okay, so this short film was made for the 48-hour film project in Durban, South Africa, and it was an absolutely amazing experience. The way this worked is that each team that was participating got two different genres which they could choose from, and then there was one compulsory character which every team had to use, one compulsory prop that every team had to use, and one compulsory line that every team had to use. So the character which we all had to use was a character by the name of Menzi Hadebe, who was a lawyer. So we all had to implement that into our film somehow. The prop we had to use was a COVID protection mask. Okay, so we are so used to seeing those every single day of our lives now, and we all had to use those in our films, which was, I guess, kind of convenient because we had easy access to those masks already. And then the line of dialogue that we had to use was "Let's get this over with," which I thought was a really cool line, and I thought it was a fun line to use in the film, and I really liked how other teams used this line in their films as well. Okay, so the genre my team was assigned were soapy and science fiction. So I definitely went with science fiction because I did not know how I would do a soapy. So what I did with Return is I made it a post-apocalyptic science fiction short film, and the way I began this is my little sort of movie idea book, which I just write a whole bunch of stuff in. So there's pages and pages of different ideas, some projects that are kind of in the works, and then some projects that just haven't even started yet, but I've still written stuff down. So anyway, I wrote down some of the, I wrote down all the requirements here. I just started writing down ideas here, just different ideas, and this started as soon as we were assigned different genres and characters and stuff like that, because that's when the clock started. I had a little idea of how the character would look, and his dog, because I wanted to have a dog included in this film. And then on this page here, I try to sort of implement Dan Harmon's story circle, and if you are super into screenwriting and stuff like that, you probably know about this already. But it's just it's almost like the hero's journey based off Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, and it just helps give structure to your film and to your characters. And I try to implement that the best I could in this film. There were some parts where I felt like I didn't hit the nail on the head properly with regards to the character, but I still try to base it as much as I could on that story structure, just to keep the story coherent and leading up to a proper point. I didn't want it to feel long or boring. I wanted it to have as much depth as possible, and I feel like the story circle kind of helped with that. So the idea I'd pretty much come up with within an hour was to have this protagonist character in a post-apocalyptic world in a deserted city with his dog, roaming the city and going somewhere. He's traveling to a destination, and I really wanted the imagery to reflect sort of the season 1 of The Walking Dead with Rick going into the city. Pretty sure you remember that scene. Also wanted to have an I Am Legend vibe. That's why I included the dog in this, and I also wanted to base the character's appearance off sort of a Mad Max feel, but obviously not as sort of extreme. I wanted it to be a little bit more subtle, so that's why I included just the weird goggles with the sparks on them and stuff like that. I did want it to feel like it was a stylized post-apocalyptic world to some degree, but not too extreme, if that makes sense. So then I printed out a whole bunch of storyboards and I started just sketching out different ideas here, as well as writing a script for this thing. So I drew out the storyboard knowing what sort of locations I would have access to and what sort of equipment I had access to as well, which really helped. And I'm just ready to make everything a little bit more simple. I could kind of sort of picture and see on paper what I wanted the film to look like, which was really helpful. So the one thing I kind of regret in hindsight is that I didn't actually establish a proper team going into this 48-hour film project. I should have established this team beforehand. So it's kind of stressing out a little bit because I didn't have any actors locked in and I didn't have any cast locked in either. So it was a bit of a stress. Luckily, I'd asked my brother James beforehand if he was potentially keen to be involved, and he said he was. So I used him as the protagonist character, and then I used my dog Coulson as the dog, obviously, because it just was convenient. For the Menzi Hidebe character, there was a person, one of my friends, whose name is Cindy, that I thought would work really, really well in this role, just because she's very, I feel like she's got like a confidence about her, and I feel like she could have, I don't know what her experience is with acting, but I thought she could be the perfect person to portray this character, and I knew that this character was only going to be in one scene essentially. So I locked her in as well. She was such a legend because she was actually flying down from Joburg on the Friday, and then literally the next day, which was a Saturday, I wanted to film her. So she was just absolutely fantastic, and I really did appreciate her stepping in last minute like that. What a legend. Cindy, if you're watching this, thank you. So then I just needed one more person to portray the wife character, whose name is Rachel, in the film, and I was stressing. Like, guys, you don't even understand how stressed I was. I'd asked so many people. I kind of felt like Mr. Incredible in that scene where he sort of just like clicking through all the deceased superheroes, because like I was going through every single person, and like I just couldn't find anyone who would work or who was available. Like some people were keen, but they just weren't available because it was so last minute. I was asking people on the day, which was bad, and I regret that. But then I was chatting to one of my friends, and they suggested this one person, Justine, who I ended up asking, and she ended up saying yes, which was absolutely amazing. And I don't know why I didn't think of Justine earlier, because James and Justine had actually had experience being on camera together for something that I did at my church a couple of years ago.
Gangster.
Peace out, ladies.
So they had done a video or two beforehand, and they were kind of used to being on camera with each other, so it ended up working out really, really well. And I was again so thankful for Justine. She was like painting her room or something, and I asked her to do this, and she like dropped all of that to come and help me. So Justine, you're absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Like seriously, it would not have been possible with each and every one of these actors and actresses who helped me out last minute. And then with regards to the music, I wanted to have something that was like a bit subtle, but also had this almost like intense undertone to it in a way, and that's where John comes into the mix. John's my other brother, and he did the music for this film all from scratch. He did everything, and I was absolutely amazed. It was the perfect soundtrack for this film. It was subtle, but also it had that sort of that underlying tension that I kind of needed, and I don't know, I think it just worked really, really well in this movie, and it did just help provoke the tone and feel that I wanted. And John, you're a legend. Thank you so much. And he won for best music, which is saying something. So yeah. Okay, so this shot here at the beginning is definitely meant to sort of reference the Walking Dead shots of Rick walking into the city. In the background there you can hear Justine sort of whispering her character Rachel, and this was stuff that I added in very, very last minute as well. It wasn't in the initial script, but I just asked her to literally WhatsApp me like different voice notes of her saying different dialogue, and I kind of just added like a bit of an echo and reverb effect to them, and kind of just added them very subtly into the background to sort of just provoke the idea that this character was sort of haunted by these voices of his partner in his head. So that's how that happened. So the idea with the color grading here and stuff like that is that it was kind of meant to look like a post-apocalyptic world, but I also really liked the look of like the Matrix, and I was like, it'd be really interesting if like a post-apocalyptic world was like in the color grade of like the Matrix. So I try to implement that as much as possible. That's why it's got like a very green sort of tone to it, as you can see here.
I have everything I wanted.
I have more. In such an unpredictable life, you were always constant.
So I absolutely love that scene on the picnic blanket. I wanted the color grading to obviously look different because it was a more like happy moments in their life, so I made it a little bit more saturated and a little bit more colorful. And this scene was heavily influenced by the scene in Up, where it's at the beginning of that like montage of their life. There's a scene of them on the picnic blankets. And then there was also just the scene in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind where Joel and Clementine are having this conversation underneath a duvet.
Am I ugly? When I was a kid, I thought I was. Can't believe I'm crying already. Sometimes I think people don't understand how lonely it is to be a kid.
And I really liked that scene in that film, and I wanted to kind of reference that a little bit in this shot as well.
I love the way she sometimes licks her lips before she talks. I love the sound of her laugh. I love the way she looks when she's sleeping.
So most of these Durban shots of David, who's played by James, take place like in the Durban area, like kind of in the Morningside area, because then you got like the Durban city as a backdrop. So that's where most of these scenes were shot. We shot them really, really early in the morning, obviously because we didn't want any cars and any other people around. And there are a few shots, if you look very, very closely, where you can see cars and people in the background. But I'm not going to tell you which ones because I don't want you to know that they're there. And then throughout these scenes as well, there's this constant like internal monologue and dialogue of this character that is almost like this narration explaining what's going on, but also just how this character is feeling.
We should have listened. Listened to the warnings. Seen the signs.
So this couch scene was originally just meant to be this couple watching a movie or TV show or something like that, but then I had this idea. My one friend Mel did a talk about climate change and stuff like that a couple of weeks prior to this, and I was like, that would be really great if I could include audio of that talk in this. I'd filmed the talk for her, and with her permission, I asked if I could use just some of it in the shots. And you can, if you listen very carefully, you can hear Mel talking about climate change, and I thought it was cool because it just did kind of, although it's very subtle and a lot of people probably didn't notice it, it does just sort of give you knowledge on what is actually going on in the world at the moment with regards to the climate. And that's sort of kind of what happens to lead to the sort of post-apocalyptic world.
All we have left are the memories of each other. And these are what keep us alive.
Hello, my name is Menzi Hadebe, and I am Mrs. Goodwin's divorce attorney.
So I really liked this scene as well. I thought James and Justine did such incredible jobs with regards to their performances in this moment, and also Cindy as well. She was such a legend. I did realize that the introduction scene of Cindy as Menzi, where she walks into the shot, I filmed it on the wrong shutter speed, so that it looks all like slow, which is bad, and I'm sorry about that, but it was just one of those things, and I couldn't fix it, unfortunately, in post-production. And then with regards to the color grading in this shot as well, I really wanted to make it look bleak and sort of like desaturated and stuff like that, because I wanted it to sort of provoke what these characters are feeling, how that the sort of love that they had for each other has sort of just almost diminished a little bit, and I wanted that to be reflected in the tone of the scene. And that's why it looks very grey and very dull. I must also just say thank you so much for Homeground Church. This is their boardroom, and they let us film this scene here. And Shavar helped me hook that up. So thank you so much, Shavar, as well. Legend. He was even making coffee in the background. Like if when you know where Cindy walks in, Shavar was at the back there just making coffee for all of us. So dude, you're a legend. Thank you. It really, really was awesome. So this scene of James and Justine arguing as well, I was just absolutely blown away by their performances. It was a difficult scene to shoot, especially if you're not confident in front of the camera. And I thought both of them they just blew me away. They were just able to sort of capture this disappointment and this tension that they had with each other, but also just this hopefulness that it could become right in the end. So I was just like, I was amazed. They were just so good. They were so good. It did take a few times to get it right. There were a lot of laughing moments in the shot, but I was just really happy that we did end up getting the shots that are needed for this scene, and they just executed that so well. Okay, so now this scene is where David actually returns home, returns back to Rachel, and again, I think the performances by James and Justine in this next sequence are absolutely amazing. Like, that's seriously great. If this last scene didn't work, this whole short film would have been like complete garbage, and I was just really proud of Justine and James with their performances in this next section. Colson was actually really good there. He didn't walk through the door, and we didn't tell him not to do that, but it actually kind of did. I don't know, I think it works really well in that scene, so good job, Colson.
I think we both know that this is now the end. It took a fallen world to tear us apart.
So we did mess up a little bit there. There's one scene with Justine with the mask and one scene with Otto in the mask. We should have made that a bit better, but a lot of people didn't notice, which is good.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't save you.
I also really like this scene here. Justine did a great job as well. She's sort of like turning into the zombie creature.
You were always more than I've ever wanted.
Great performance by James once again. Love it. He's delivering these lines so well. With regards to the sound effects and the sound mixing, I actually recorded everything myself. So there's a lot of like the hitting on the bed, that was all like recorded from a different time, like the zombie sounds and stuff, that was all recorded separately. And I just sort of added it in. And the gunshot at the end here is actually me just clapping, and I just sort of copied it a bunch of times and added different effects to the different claps to try and make it sound as close as a gunshot as possible. I was trying to find sound effects that I could use, but I just couldn't find ones that were properly legal to use. There was like, you could kind of use them and then you have to give like credit to someone. I'm like, it's just too much of a mission for the time constraint I have. So I just kind of just recorded all the sound effects myself. Also in this scene here, I try to actually desaturate Justine's skin a bit to make it a little bit more of like a grey colour compared to James's hand there. So I don't know if many people noticed that, but I did just kind of want to provoke the feeling that Justine's character, Rachel, had kind of sort of, she was too far gone at this point. She had kind of turned into this zombie creature. That is a toy gun, obviously, but it looked okay. It looked better than I thought it would.
Let's get this over with.
That's the line of dialogue we had to use. So that's it. That's the film. I really liked it there. I wish the gunshot was a bit louder. I should have made it a bit louder in hindsight. But it worked okay for what it needed to be. So then the screening itself took place at Ster-Kinekor Gateway, which is a cinema I visit a lot. It's probably is my favorite cinema at the moment, and it was just mind-blowing to know that the film I'd made was going to be showing there to an audience. And then the fact that so many of my friends just showed up to support me, like it was so overwhelming. It was one of the highlights of last year for sure, and it was absolutely amazing just to have people there supporting you. And they had to pay to be there, and it just meant a lot that people paid to go watch my movie in the cinema. So it was awesome. And look, I learned a lot from this short film. There were definitely things that I wish I changed a little bit here and there. There were some things I wish I added in, and some things I took out. But in hindsight, it was a really great and fun experience. The film ended up winning for Best Use of Prop, which was the mask that James wore. The Best Music, which John did, my brother, which is absolutely amazing. And then the Best Editing as well, which is really, really amazing for me as well. Because I edit, like that's what I do. That's like my job. Like I'm a video editor, photographer, and videographer. So that was also just really, really amazing. And it just encouraged me a lot as well. So I was amazed. And let me know if you have any other questions. I'm happy to answer them in the comments down below. And thank you for watching this. I know this was probably a bit longer than my usual videos, but I really do appreciate it. You guys are absolute legends. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.